It does seem like there's a question of the message that we're sending, right? So if one message is you belong here, bring your whole self to campus, we will support you, we will help you problem solve. And then another message is, but your ideas and even your most cherished values are going to be challenged in this place. That's an unusual sort of orientation. You don't get that at a typical, new job corporate HR presentation. So is there hope that we can instill that sort of nuance with new students, or is it going to sort of take some kind of further engagement? I'd love anybody's thoughts on that question. Joseph?
Yes, so I'd love to actually chime in on that. So I agree that there is a disconnect. There is a tendency for the student affairs half of that equation to kind of dominate orientation, and I can briefly explain like exactly why that is. So on the student affairs end of things, our work, and whether that's through our professional organizations that we keep up with, our graduate educations. A lot of us have educational backgrounds in counseling and education. The core of that work is research on the academy, and specifically research on college transition and adjustment, that essentially argues that a student who feels that they belong and are more and is more included throughout the campus social sphere is more likely to stay at that institution, do well, thrive. And so I feel that we do a good job within orientation programs with that. However, what we admittedly forget is that's only half of the equation. Students' ability and tendency to remain at an institution, persist, and do well is also part cognitive and intellectual. They have to be immersed in an academic program that they are passionate about, et cetera. And we know that throughout research, as well. So I think, when we try to pull all of that together, in the name of viewpoint diversity and, constructive disagreement and all of that, I think it would help if student affairs professionals understood to a higher extent how important the intellectual and in class development is to students on both in the long term and then also in that key first semester or two, and try to pull faculty in when they can, because all what we're advocating for, open inquiry, viewpoint diversity, is the core of the academic side. So I definitely am always advocating on my side, like student affairs, to pull faculty in.
Can I add to what Joseph was just saying, just to say that even pulling faculty in, which is one of the things I tried to do, isn't easy. So when you think of the common reading programs, which are often part of a new student orientation experience, they receive the book sometime in the summer and they're asked to read it over the summer, and then they come and have a session about it, maybe the weekend before classes start. It can be a wonderful way to introduce students to the intellectual purpose of the university and to the place of the and to the university as a place of polyvocality, that there are going to be multiple perspectives on this book from different disciplines, from different political points of view and so forth, but we can all have this conversation across all these differences. So it seems like a great idea, but at the same time, some of you might know, the National Association of Scholars followed for about a decade all of the books that were selected across all of these hundreds of colleges, and that really were more social justice message oriented books, or and even on my own campus, there were faculty members who were promoting their own book to be selected for the Common Read, because we had thousands of freshmen. That's a lot of book sales. And then and they believed in their book. We also had, as the Common Reading Director, I got messages and promotional materials from publishers suggesting that this should be the common reading book that we select, because again, it's a cash cow for publishers. And then even if we picked a book that we thought really was, something that appealed to a wide variety of disciplines and raised a lot of interesting questions, and we weren't picking it because it had some message we wanted everyone to swallow, people still accused us of selecting the book for that reason. And so it made me realize how important it is to make sure that you frame for students and everybody else who's watching what's going on, the reason you're engaging in what you're engaging in, the reason you have a common reading book, or you have whatever orientation activity it is, whether it's one of those giant inflatables, those giant inflatable chairs, and they climb up there and they have a photo op. Okay, those are part of orientations too. If it's one of those, or if it's a get to know you game, or if it's a dining hall activity, or if it's a common reading, or if it's a constructive dialogue session or a debate, why do we have that? How does that align with the purpose of the university and with the discovery and dissemination of new knowledge? And I think that can really go a long way to frame what we're doing, but because I think it is, just to acknowledge, it's a real challenge. So even if we just add some more faculty and stir, we won't necessarily solve the problem, because we have to be really clear what we're doing, including even with constructive dialogue. There's a different reason to have constructive dialogue on a college campus at a university than, say, at your bowling alley or in your church or synagogue or somewhere else. Constructive dialogue on a college campus is not just about having a kumbaya moment where everyone feels understood by others. We are trying to weed out bad ideas and find the good ideas, or the credible ideas, and sort them from the non-credible. So not every opinion is equal. So it's a little different in the academy to have those conversations. And I think it's important to explain that to students and their parents and family members as well.
Mm-hmm. Adam?
No, I totally agree. Just to piggyback on Martha's comments, especially the point about it, don't think that it's enough to just recruit some faculty and stir. I totally understand and appreciate Joseph's desire for faculty to be more involved and not just leave orientation to folks in student affairs, although I really appreciate our partnership with student affairs and what they're doing, and see them as great partners. But I don't think we should assume that faculty are the torchbearers for Heterodox Academy's values and what we're here talking about today. And in fact, in some ways, I'm concerned about faculty in that way. And so I don't think just more faculty involvement ensures success. And I say that as a faculty member. That's why I think that we need to find concrete ways to model from the outset, from the orientation program, what these values are, and what that mission of the university is, which is is contested, and you've talked to a bunch of faculty, they're not going to agree on that mission, on the definition for that mission. And so if there's a common reading, Martha was talking about or several people talked about the book that all first years get, if it can not only be a book that's not written by a faculty member, which the optics are terrible, but something that that's open-ended, that's open to challenging, and that really kind of models that that mission that I think we're in agreement on, in terms of the need for finding good ideas but hearing bad ideas and then being able to explain why they're bad ideas, and just having that open inquiry, which is more endangered today than it was 20 years ago. And therefore, our orientation programs need to be different, and we can't just assume that these values will just happen magically. I think that orientations have to be about more than where to get your ID and where the wellness center is, even though those are they're nuts and bolts things that students need to know where the wellness center is. They need to know about, go to the Title IX workshop and the anti-hazing things that are now required in the state of Ohio. Those are essential, but so are the kind of fundamental ethos of a university that's going to be critical when they walk into that first class too.